We're taking a drastic turn with today's video. Y'all know those Disney World tips we've told you in the past to help you save time and money? We're turning them upside down today here on DFV Guide. Hey everybody, it's AJ for Disney Food Blog. Here at DFB, we've got a laundry list of things we recommend you steer clear of while you're navigating around the Disney World parks, but every now and then a situation arises that turns said recommendations on their head because drastic times call for drastic measures. So today we're going to go over the terrible things you may actually want to do during your upcoming trip that could actually end up improving it. Just make sure to hear us out with these points. Otherwise, you're going to think we're just majorly mixed up through and through. First terrible thing I'm going to recommend you do is waking up early. Waking up before the sun does on vacation? Who wants to do that? Well, if you want to make sure you and your group are well rested every single morning of your trip, then starting your mornings before 7 a.m. Eastern may be out of the question for you. I know it's out of the question for me, but there are major advantages to getting up early in Disney World. Advantages that you won't want to skip out on if getting as much done as possible in a single day is a big goal of yours. And if you want to book some of those very hard to get rides. So first off, 7 a.m. is the first drop time for boarding groups, which is going to save you a spot in a virtual queue for the newest Disney World rides. If a ride is using a virtual queue, that means there is no traditional standby line available. So getting a space in a boarding group is of the utmost importance. Per the release of this video, Guardians of the Galaxy Cosmic Rewind over in Epcot is the only attraction currently using the virtual queue system. But when Tron Light Cycle Run opens in Magic Kingdom on April 4th, it'll be using the same system to help manage the crowd levels. There are two boarding group drops that happen daily, once at 7 a.m. and once at 1 p.m. Fun fact, there's also a super sneaky third boarding group drop that happens at 6 p.m., but that's only if you're planning on hitting up Epcot during their extended evening hours, which happens on certain Monday nights only and just for certain people. But don't worry, I'll talk more about extended evening hours later on. But there are advantages for getting up early for that first drop of the day. The 7 a.m. drop lets you book your spot in line even while you're still snuggled up in your hotel bed. If you're trying to get a spot for the 1 p.m. drop, you'll have to be in the ride's respective park that day. Even if you don't get a boarding group during the first drop, you've got some practice under your belt, meaning you'll be ready to try again for the next time. And if you do get a boarding group the first time, then hooray, you won't have to stress over trying to get one around 1 p.m. in the middle of your park day. I'll drop the link to our DFB post talking about everything you need to know about boarding groups and virtual queues down in the description below. Why else do you need to get up before 7 a.m.? Well, if you purchase Disney Genie Plus that day, which will allow you to bypass standby lines at certain attractions by using those lightning lane queues instead, then you'll want to be up and at 'em for when those lightning lanes first go live on the My Disney Experience app, which just so happens to be 7 a.m. That way you can call dibs on a lightning lane for your favorite ride. For the more popular rides that don't have lightning lanes featured on Disney Genie Plus that you'll have to pay for individually per person per ride through, those individual lightning lanes also go live at 7 a.m. for Disney World Resort guests only. Otherwise, you'll have to wait to buy them once the parks open up for the day. And remember, most of those rides also currently do have a standby line. Guardians of the Galaxy is the only one that doesn't. So if you miss out on buying a lightning lane for those, you can still wait in the standby line. And even if you're not planning on going the Genie Plus route, getting up early and getting to the parks before rope drop will still help you get ahead of the crowds before they peak by the afternoon. If you're staying in a Disney World hotel, whether it be value, moderate, or deluxe, you'll also have access to the early theme park entry, which will allow you to enter any of the parks on any day 30 minutes before they open for everyone else. So essentially, you could wake up even earlier and milk those morning privileges for what they're worth. Now, I know waking up early sounds like a bad time for all you night owls out there like me, but getting a head start on your day could be the key to setting you up for success. All right, the next terrible thing we're going to recommend, skipping a park or two. Quick, you only have a couple of days to get the most out of your time at Disney World, so how do you make sure you get to see all 4 parks in the limited amount of time you've been given? How about you don't? I know, it's tempting to want to see every park no matter how much or how little vacation time you have. But when you buy park hoppers for your tickets, not only are you going to wind up spending hundreds of dollars extra for your trip to have these park hopping privileges, but you're also going to be cutting your time in each of the parks short, meaning you're only going to be able to get on a few rides and maybe see 1 or 2 shows before it's time for your rush on over to the second park of the day. Now, instead of rushing through vacation, just choose to visit 1 or 2 parks this time around. That way you can take your time, see as much as you can in each park park that you choose to prioritize and save the other parks for a later trip. Ultimately, this method will help save you money and spare you the stress of hopping from place to place and basically living in the future versus enjoying the present. I also really recommend this strategy if you have super young kids, especially babies. It can be much easier to just hang out in Magic Kingdom and have access to all of those rides that are perfect for little kids and even some that babies can ride, rather than whisking those kids through all 4 parks and having to rent another stroller at each park, and it can just be a hassle. This also gives you the space to go back to your hotel, maybe take a nap, spend some time at the pool, play in the sand. There's lots of things that your kids are going to love in Disney World that have nothing to do with a park. So this is an especially good recommendation if you're heading to Disney World with little kiddos. The next terrible thing we are going to recommend, booking a trip during a peak season. Okay, hold up. Are we always telling you what times of the year you can avoid the crowds? Why would we switch gears all of a sudden and tell you to go head first into the raging swarm of guests? Well, because there's a reason peak seasons exist, right? For starters, peak season times like spring break and the middle of summer vacation and around the holidays, those are the most convenient times of the year for a lot of families to travel. And these times of the year have some really cool things going on that you could miss out on during those non-peak times. During spring break, we're going to be seeing a lot of new stuff popping up in the parks, like Tron, Light Cycle Run, the return of Happily Ever After in Magic Kingdom, and the return of Epcot Forever. Not to mention, this is also the time of year when Epcot's Flower and Garden Festival starts up, meaning you're going to be able to see the park flourishing with topiaries, live performances, and food. So much food, but don't forget your allergy medicine. In the summer, there's the chance that you might be able to time your visit around the 4th of July fireworks celebration in Magic Kingdom, which will happen on both the 3rd and the 4th of the month. And on top of that, park hours tend to be longer to help accommodate the crowds. And more show times become available for popular performances like Fantasmic over at Disney's Hollywood Studios. If you travel around the Thanksgiving or Christmas holidays, you're going to get a truly magical and unique festive experience throughout each of the parks. So long as you know how to handle the crowds, you're going to be golden. We've got a whole video discussing the 50 best ways to manage the Disney World parks on their busiest days if you plan on vacationing during these peak seasons. And you may want to watch that after we finish up here today. But just keep in mind that even though there are several benefits to traveling to Disney World when everyone else is, there are still some downsides to consider, like advanced dining reservations are harder to get, price increases, and there's people everywhere. So many people. So before you jump into any official vacation dates for your group, weigh the pros and cons first, and then go from there. All right, next terrible thing that I am going to recommend right now is waiting in a long queue line. I'm not talking about getting in line for a ridiculously long queue that'll take hours out of your day, but I'm talking about getting in line for a ride just to take a breather. Some rides that rack up longer wait times during the day, like Toy Story Mania and Hollywood Studios, Flight of Passage in Animal Kingdom, and Soarin' Around the World in Epcot, have indoor queues, and that means for the next 45 plus minutes or so, you're going to be guaranteed a spot out of the sun and in the AC. Not to mention, some of those queues are really cool to look at. Peter Pan's Flight in Magic Kingdom has the nursery scene where Tinkerbell flitters about and interacts with several objects around the room, and Dinosaur in Disney's Animal Kingdom is set up like a mini dino museum with Bill Nye the Science Guy as your narrator. Frozen Ever After in Epcot weaves you around Arendelle and leads you right on into Wander and Oaken's trading post, where you just might meet the famous Oaken himself. Dumbo the Flying Elephant in Magic Kingdom lets kids run off all that pent-up energy in an indoor play area with slides and rope tunnels and other cute circus-themed activities. You'll actually receive a pager for this queue that'll go off when it's your group's turn to ride, but be warned, your kid might like the play area better than the ride itself. And those are just a few of the indoor ride queues that you might actually enjoy waiting in, just to see all the detail and Imagineering going on. Again, don't get in a 3+ hour line just because you think a queue could be neato, but if you see a longish wait for a ride in the middle of the day that you know has an indoor queue and you just need some sanctuary away from the heat for a bit, this could be the non-conventional solution to your problem. The next terrible thing I recommend doing in Disney World is not leaving during the storms. If raindrops keep falling on your head, that's not your sign to leave the parks, my friends. Orlando weather changes minute by minute and hour by hour, meaning you're more than likely going to come across a rainstorm or 2 or 3 or 4 sometime during your visit. But that doesn't mean you need to get the heck out of Dodge until the coast is clear. There's still plenty to do in each of the parks that'll keep you out of the rain for the time being. You can get a last-minute dining reservation at a restaurant by going to the dining tips board on your My Disney Experience app. You can hit up some indoor shows and rides while the outdoor ones are temporarily closed, or you can get some souvenir shopping done at one of the many gift shops. Main Street USA in Magic Kingdom has several of their gift shops all attached to one another, making quick travel between stores without getting wet and easy feet. When you wait out the rain, you're going to be handsomely rewarded once the skies are sunny again, because crowds tend to die down during the storms. They all leave. And this could be the perfect opportunity to jump in line for an outdoor ride once they reopen for a much shorter wait. Disclaimer though, please disregard this advice if the weather could threaten your safety. If a cast member is telling you to vacate the park because the storm has the potential to become a hurricane, then listen to them and head back to your room to take shelter. Though Orlando weather changes constantly, it's still a good idea to keep an eye on the extended forecast and the AccuWeather app before and during your trip so you can stay informed about the potential weather patterns going on in the area and be alerted if there is severe weather ahead. All right, next terrible thing I'm going to recommend, waiting in line for food instead of mobile ordering. Okay, stick with me here. Admittedly, I usually don't recommend choosing to wait in the physical lines for a fast food restaurant over the mobile order option. Mobile order is going to be so much faster, allowing you to bypass the ordering queue and go straight to a designated pickup counter or waiting area to get your food when it's ready. However, what mobile order won't do for you is allow you to talk to a real life person about any questions you have regarding the menu. If you've got specific questions that have to do with allergy concerns that aren't being answered in the mobile order app, it's always best to talk to a cast member directly. Even if the cast member behind the register is unsure of how to answer your food question, they should be able to redirect you to the kitchen chefs or a restaurant manager. They can also provide you with the restaurant's nutrition binder potentially, which will include a full list of every menu item and all their different ingredients that make up each entree, dessert, and side. If you want more tips on how to navigate Disney World in an allergy-friendly way, consider picking up our new 2023 DFB Guide to Walt Disney World Dining. It's over on dfbstore.com. We got entire sections dedicated to allergy-friendly dining, but we also discuss what's new and popular and maybe even overrated. Plus, we've also got extra pages dedicated to games and fun activities with bingo cards, scavenger hunts, trivia questions, and a lot more. If you want to order this digital guide before your big Disney World trip, make sure to type in the code YouTube before you check out to save some extra cash on your total purchase. Next on our list of terrible things, riding a universally disliked ride. Hello, I'm here to tell you to ignore the haters, and that includes us. There are some Disney World rides on property that have received a rather infamous reputation. Mission Space and Epcot could easily be renamed the Vomitron, and I wouldn't bat an eye. And it's tough to be a bug, and Disney's Animal Kingdom continues to traumatize those with major bug phobias on the daily. Tomorrowland Speedway in Magic Kingdom is... well, it's just a go-kart track with less freedom. But just because many of us aren't big fans of these rides doesn't automatically mean you're going to feel the same way. If you don't ever get motion sickness, try Mission Space. If you actually enjoy buggy antics and 4D experiences, try It's Tough to Be a Bug. If your kid is begging to go on Tomorrowland Speedway, then go on Tomorrowland Speedway. Believe me, I've done it a million times. Because what doesn't work for some could still end up becoming the best memories for others. I can remember using up all 3 Fast Passes on Tomorrowland Speedway many days in a row when I had a little boy who just loved anything with wheels. The flip opposite side of this equation is true too, though. Just because a Disney ride is universally loved by many doesn't mean you have to feel the same way. You're allowed to have different opinions and priorities. But if you want a better look at all the different rides, make sure to check out our playlists on the DFB channel here, where we rank and rate every single ride in Disney World just for you. We give all the pros and cons and base it on what a lot of our readers and viewers have been telling us. And that way you can determine on your own time which rides are going to be worth it and which are going to be a hard pass for your group. All right, next terrible thing I recommend. This is for those not night owls, and we're going to say to stay up late. Let's put the whole early to bed, early to rise motto on the back burner and take a whole different approach to Disney World. If you and your group are the type of travelers who function way better once the sun has set, there are a couple of surefire ways to stay in the Disney parks after they've closed for everyone else. The first way is by booking a deluxe Disney World resort, which will not only give you early theme park entry benefits, but also extended evening hours as well. These benefits will let you stay in select parks on certain nights up to 2 hours after they close for the day. Typically, you'll find extended evening hours for Epcot on Mondays, Magic Kingdom on Wednesdays, and Disney's Hollywood Studios on Thursdays. The second way to stay in the parks at night is to purchase tickets for the after-hours events that happen over at Magic Kingdom and Hollywood Studios. Disney's after-hours are separately ticketed parties where you can explore the theme parks for 3 hours after the park closes. There are treats and drinks included in your ticket, and best of all, you can usually find lower wait times than usual since Disney only sells a limited number of tickets per event. Ticket prices range between $129 to $159 per person depending on the date. You can find all available after-hours dates on the Disney World website, but if you want to go this route, make sure to book those tickets soon because they do sell out quickly. Now, the next thing we're going to recommend that we don't usually recommend is going to a Starbucks location. As much as we advocate for Joffrey's Coffee and Tea, and by we, I mean Bria, because she will not shut up about it, there is something to be said about visiting one of the many Disney World Park-specific locations that sells Starbucks drinks. No, you're not going to be able to use your Starbucks rewards at the parks, and yes, you'll be able to find many of the same offerings you'd find at your local Starbucks back home, but there are a few different exclusive offerings you just might find at these cafe locations too. At Connections Cafe in Epcot, you can order liege waffles from the bakery display case. At Creature Comforts, you might be able to find animal-inspired sweets like Cotton Top Tamarind cupcakes or various seasonal releases at Animal Kingdom. At the Trolley Car Cafe in Hollywood Studios, you can find one of our old favorite treats here, the Carrot Cake Cookie, as well as seasonal limited time offerings like the Glimmer and Shimmer Earl Grey Cupcake, and my favorite Butterfinger Cupcake that they call like the Toffee Crunch or something like that now. And at Main Street Bakery in Magic Kingdom, you'll find giant cinnamon rolls that are Mickey-shaped and chocolate hazelnut bear claws if you're lucky. I wouldn't recommend going to any of these locations first thing in the morning since they tend to get really busy, but they could provide some satisfying sweet treats and much needed coffee pick-me-ups around late afternoon. Next on our list is visiting Oga's Cantina. Okay, confession, Oga's Cantina in Star Wars Galaxy's Edge can be a rough experience. It is crowded, it is loud, it is expensive, it doesn't really have food unless you get that weird charcuterie board that won't fill you up and will still cost you $21. And you're most likely going to be shoved in between two people so close that you're not even going to be able to move. That's how they do Oga's. But this continues to be one of those lounge experiences that we will return to and get excited about finding reservations for because it is Star Wars at its finest. You've got DJ Rex blasting tunes in the corner, you've got fun novelty drinks like the mouth-numbing Fuzzy Tauntaun and the cloud-swirling Bespin Fizz. You've got bartenders that keep you immersed in the story even while waiting hand and foot on a whole bunch of guests at once. It's equally as fun as it is overwhelming. So for all you Star Wars fans out there wondering if advanced dining reservations for this experience is worth it or not, I'd say go for it. Worst comes to worst, you can consider it a one-and-done experience and still mark it off your Disney bucket list. Just keep in mind that when you do make this reservation, you'll probably only have 45 minutes to spend in the lounge so that Disney can service as many guests as possible in a day, which usually that's more than enough time. For us anyways. The next terrible thing I recommend doing in Disney World, purchasing the overpriced gift shop necessities. Now, Disney's hotel gift shops are notorious for overpricing those last-minute necessities like sunscreen, over-the-counter meds, diapers, band-aids, you name it. So it's easy for us to get on these videos and warn you about those jacked up prices, steering you clear of paying for more than you need to by making sure you pack those necessities before you leave the house, or telling you to order them off Instacart or another grocery delivery service, or reminding you can just drive out of the Disney bubble and over to the nearest pharmacy when you get the chance. But here's the thing. If it's an emergency and you don't happen to have those essentials on hand when you need them the most, do what you need to do to get those items the quickest way possible. If your baby has a diaper blowout and you didn't pack enough diapers, buy them from the Disney gift shop. If you're about to head over to the parks and forgot to pack sunscreen, buy it from the Disney gift shop. If you don't have moleskin and you're starting to get a hot spot on your foot, buy it at the Disney gift shop. If you've got a major headache and cramps that just won't let up, don't gaslight yourself. Just pay the extra couple of bucks and get the meds you need right then to help you feel better. Best case scenario, you'll get what you need right when you need it, and you can use this instance as a cautionary tale for here on out to help you remember to pack these essentials ahead of time for your next trip. Also, don't forget that Disney's first aid centers and baby care centers inside each of their parks are also able to hook you up with last-minute select essentials to help you through your park day. So if you're not currently at your hotel but are still in need of extra formula or Tylenol, you could very well still be able to get what you need from these in-park locations instead. Believe me, for every single time I have told you not to buy the stuff in the Disney gift shop, I have bought the stuff in the Disney gift shop. So it is what it is. The next terrible thing I recommend doing in Disney World is stepping out of your comfort zone. The comfort zone is called a comfort zone for a reason, because if your method ain't broke, why bother fixing it? But one of the easiest ways to get Disney park burnout is doing the exact same thing year after year. You go to the same hotel, you make the same reservations for the same restaurants, you prioritize the same rides. Sure, it's still a good time, but man, aren't you starting to get a major sense of deja vu by now? If you have a certain way you like to tackle the parks, try something new this time around. Do you find yourself eating at Chef Mickey's at Disney's Contemporary Resort every single trip? Now it's time to make reservations for a different character dining experience like storybook dining at Artist Point with Snow White or Topolino's Terrace at Disney's Riviera. Do you always stay at Disney's Caribbean Beach every time you visit? Try a different moderate leg, Disney's Port Orleans Riverside or French Quarter, or even Coronado Springs and Grand Destino Tower if you're looking for something a bit fancier. Do you only hit up the most popular rides in Epcot? Try some of those underrated gems next time, like Grand Fiesta Tour and the Seas with Nemo and Friends. There's so much to see and do at Disney World that makes it easy to have a new, fresh experience each time you visit. But if you want a little extra guidance alongside all the newness you're planning on adding to your trusty itinerary, you can always sign up for our totally free DFB newsletter, and I can send you those extra tips and tricks right to your inbox. I'll add our newsletter link down in the description below. The next thing that a lot of you may think is terrible that I totally recommend doing is taking a solo trip. If you're intimidated by the thought of going to Disney World when no one else wants or is able to join you, I've got 3 big reasons why you should go and enjoy that big trip by yourself regardless. Don't worry, you won't need to write them down. Reason number 1, you get to do whatever you want. Reason number 2, you get to stay wherever you want. Reason number 3, you get to eat whatever you want. The end. Is taking a Disney World trip absolutely magical when you're able to share it with the people you love? For sure. For the most part. That is until everyone gets cranky with each other and your mission switches over from having a great time and into ultimate survival mode. Just don't let others keep you from experiencing that dream trip if you have the funds, time, and ability to enjoy it yourself. We like to call this premium self-care at its finest. I love going to the parks by myself, and I think you will too. Just give it a shot. Next on our list of terrible things we recommend doing in Disney World is giving mediocre restaurants another chance. Sometimes a Disney World restaurant will do you dirty. You'll make the reservations, pay the pricey tab, and end up with a dish you feel like you could have made yourself, if not better. But Disney World restaurants do change a lot. Not in a way your ex promises to change if you take him back, but in an actual legitimately good way. And that's because Disney changes its menus and the chefs all the time. Though we've advised many of you to steer clear of Pizza Rizzo and Hollywood Studios because its personal pizzas are more dough, less toppings, and lots of grease, they actually also sell a meatball sub here that isn't too shabby if you're looking for something quick, cheap, and hearty. Pizza Rizzo has also had fun seasonal treats in the past too, like those limited time Muppets Haunted Mansion chocolate eclairs that released back in 2021. And though we're not the world's biggest fans of Tony's Town Square restaurant in Magic Kingdom, they did get a menu overhaul back in May, which included this toasted ciabatta with roasted garlic butter and Parmesan fonduta that we thought was actually pretty incredible. And we don't say that about Tony's very often. That's why we try to go to every Disney World restaurant at least once a year, if not more, to keep up with those major restaurant and chef changes. So if you want an updated review of what you can expect from a certain Disney World restaurant, just to see if a certain restaurant really has changed its ways since your last trip, you can always check out our most recent reviews and thoughts over on the DFB website. Now, does that mean if you already have your sights set on a different restaurant, you should backtrack and settle for someplace you've tried in the past you really didn't like? Not at all. Just never throw out a restaurant completely because it could wind up surprising you in the future. Next thing I recommend doing in Disney World that we don't always recommend is treating yourself to that pricey souvenir. And we're back with the treat yourself mindset. Is it true that you can often find Disney World specific merchandise on the Shop Disney website for a sometimes potentially cheaper price? Yes. Is it also true that you could purchase a cheaper version of off-brand mini ears in a big box store or on the Amazon website instead of paying $30 to $40 for a pair on property? Also, yes. But is there something special about buying that exclusive Disney World item in shop that you've been eyeballing since the start of your vacation? Absolutely. There's nothing like it. Disney World merchandise doesn't come cheap, but if you've saved a certain amount just for souvenirs, then don't feel guilty about using your money to buy souvenirs. And if you buy, say, a Loungefly bag or a shoulder pet accessory at the beginning of your trip, you'll be able to wear those around for the remainder of your trip. And there's nothing quite like fashioning off your new Disney merch directly in the parks. It's like getting your hair done, then going to the grocery store feeling like a whole new person. And if the gift shop lines are what's keeping you away from purchasing your dream piece of merchandise rather than the actual cost, consider using the merchandise mobile checkout option on your My Disney Experience app. Mobile checkout is offered at certain Disney gift shops and lets you check out items in-store directly from your phone instead of having to wait in line to have a cast member ring them up for you. Just make sure you've got your Disney account and payment information already set up on the app ahead of time and take full advantage of this feature. As you can see, these terrible recommendations aren't always going to pay off the way you want them to. Sometimes that mediocre restaurant you give a second chance is still going to turn out being mediocre, or getting up too early is going to make you feel cranky the rest of the day, or the weather just isn't going to let up. But what this video does show you is that every itinerary, every trip, and every group's preferences are going to be vastly different from someone else's, because no itinerary is a one-size-fits-all, and no tip is always going to be applicable. So keep checking back with us. We'll keep giving you all the Disney news, reviews, and advice you're looking for, but also remember to do your research. Discuss things with your travel group. Make sure the Disney plans you're currently concocting are going to be the best fit for you and your family. Thanks for listening, everyone, and thanks for watching. As always, this is AJ for Disney Food Blog, and we'll see you real soon.